my name is Kendall here with Lousy Llama Creations. Today we're going to be crocheting a pigeon. For this project, you're going to need medium weight 4 yarn in blue, gray, and yellow, 10mm safety eyes, tapestry needle, scissors, stuffing, stitch marker, and a 5mm crochet hook. This is our last bird of our 5-part bird series of our pigeon. His name is Oscar. He is adorable. He's available as a crochet kit on my website. It comes with all the supplies and all the right colors and shades you need, so you can crochet your own little pigeon. I also wanted to say that I am starting with clips from the bee video, so you will be seeing the beginning in yellow, and if you hear any mention of bee, do not worry, it is exactly the same thing as the pigeon. For the pigeon, you're just going to start in that beautiful blue color. Let's jump into the video and get making. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, a little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Looking things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. This is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds. Because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2. which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6, so that we have 12, so we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have 1 single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm gonna put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1 and then an increase. Or in my head, sometimes I'll say double. So 1 and then a double. And we're going to repeat this. So the next stitch, we're going to do 1. And then the next stitch, a double or an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. So 1 and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end, I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly, my stitches aren't clean, this tail's in the way, what am I doing? Boop, just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're going to do 1, 1, and then an increase. 1, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, 1, increase. 1, 1, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit, that's okay. All right, now I have the top of the head. Now I'm going to be doing 6 rounds of single crochet. So we're not going to do any increases or decreases or anything like that. We're just going to put 1 single crochet in every single stitch. Now normally we put our stitch marker into the last stitch and count each round. If you're doing rounds of single crochet, you could do something a little more fun and you can put your stitch marker on the side of the stitch and we don't have to move it up every time. When you're doing the increases and decreases, you want to be very exact. But for rounds of single crochet, it's okay if it's not. So we can leave it on the side and we're just going to place 1 single crochet into every single stitch. Around and around for 6 rounds. Let me show you how we're going to work with our stitch marker once we come around. So as we come to the end of the round, we're just going to keep on working. We don't have to do anything with the marker. We just crochet around it and continue on. So now I can see this was the end, so we go up. This is 1 round. You're going to do that for a total of 6 rounds. My 6 rounds. And so now we're actually going to change colors to gray. This is my tail from the magic ring. I'm just going to tuck it inside just so it stays out of the way. You can also trim it. Just make sure you don't trim it too close that it comes undone. So to do a color change in single crochet, it's exactly like making a single crochet stitch. You're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, so you've got 2 loops, but instead of yarning over with the blue, we're going to yarn over with gray. I want to leave a couple inches so it doesn't come undone. Hook it on the hook and pull through. Make sure you're not crocheting with the tail, but with the yarn attached to the skein. And then make the next single crochet, or 2 or 3. On the back, you can tie these together after you cut off the blue. Again, leaving a few inches. Now we're just going to continue with gray. You're going to single crochet in gray for 1 round with just single crochets. So I'm just going to keep on going around in my gray. I can tell when it's going to be end of the row because my last row was in blue. So I'm just going to line it up with the gray as I go around. So now we worked all the way back around. I'm going to take out my stitch marker and move it up to my last stitch. The next round is going to be like our increase rounds. We're going to single crochet 3 and then do an increase. Previously, we were up to 2 single crochet and then increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochet and increase. So 1, 2, 3, and then our increase, which is at 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. And we're going to do that for the whole round. I finished that round. I'm going to move my stitch marker back to the side because we're going to be doing 8 rounds of single crochet. Again, 1 single crochet into every single stitch, just in the gray, no color changes or anything like that, just 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 for a total of 8 rounds. This is just my sample for the video. I'm not going to do the full 8 rounds just so I can film this a little faster, but generally he's a little taller. I'm going to add the eyes now. The eyes are going to go between rounds 6 and 7, about 5 or 6 stitches apart. So I'm going to start from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Place an eye. I want to make sure the color change is in the back because that's the one part that you can kind of tell looks different. So I want to put it in the back. I'm going to count 5 to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm happy with 5. We're going to do 5 apart. And then I want to add my backs on. These backs are a little different. If you're following from the crochet kits, your pieces will snap right on. These eyes I have to put on the washers backwards, but my kits have nicer eyes. And there's his little eyes. He looks so silly. After you've done the 8 rounds of single crochet, you are going to start decreasing down and stuffing. So I'm going to move my stitch marker back in. We're basically going to do the opposite of our increases. So we're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. Let me show you, let me do the 3 single crochets and I'll show you the decrease. So 1, 2, 3. A decrease is just combining 2 stitches together. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So again, we're going to single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and our decrease of insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. We're going to do this for the whole round. Taking out my marker, doing my last decrease. and putting the marker back in. Our next round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, and then that decrease. I want to do that for the whole round. The next round, you might have guessed it, is going to be 1 single crochet and then a decrease. So 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Repeat for the round, and then we're going to stuff. Now to stuff, I don't need my stitch marker in right now. I'm just going to pull that loop a little bit so I have some wiggle room and grab my stuffing. The trick to stuffing is to pull it apart into small clumps and place it in individually. You don't just want to shove this whole thing in, then it won't be very fluffy and it uses a lot more stuffing than it needs. So I just pull it apart and I place it individually. I'm starting at the head because obviously that's the furthest part. And I'm placing it around the edges. If you have any yarn scraps, you can place it in the middle of stuffing, and it kind of uses less stuffing and a little bit more environmentally friendly. You can decide if you want your pigeon to be super full and round, or if you want him a little smaller, you just stuff a little less. I am making sure that my yarn is not getting tucked in, because then you have to pull it all out, because we still need the yarn, we still need to finish crocheting our last round. Remember, I only did 6 rounds of the gray instead of 8, so my pigeon is smaller, so don't freak out if yours looks a little different. Yours should be bigger than mine. Right now, mine looks like a weeble wobbler. Okay. Cool. I love him. For our very last round, I'm gonna put my hook back in. We are going to do 6 decreases. With the last round, it is sometimes difficult to get all 6 decreases because you have to work pretty tight. It's a small space. That's okay. If you need to do 5, that's fine. If you end up doing 7, you're fine. But we're just gonna try to do 6 decreases. So 1, I wanna pull very tight because this is how we get close to the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, this last one's always the hardest, and 6. Any last minute stuffing should be right now. I'm then going to cut a nice long tail, pull through. That's called fastening off. I don't have a loop anymore, I just pulled my hook all the way through. And then I'm going to put my tail on my tapestry needle, and we're going to close up the bottom. What I like to do is I like to go through the last round of stitches going in and out. And then pulling tight like a little cinch bag. I'm going to tie a knot at the end, putting it as close to the base as I can. I do wish I stuffed him a little bit more. I'm then going to weave in the tail. To do that, I'm going to poke my tail right through the body and then poke out anywhere that's gray and pull through. And then trim. And that's the base of our pigeon. For our beak, we're going to do it the exact same way that we started our body. We're going to do a magic ring, a chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. So I'm not going to explain step by step. If you need to, go ahead and go back to the beginning of this video. I'm going to do my magic ring, my chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Tighten it closed, leave a nice long tail, cut, and fasten off by pulling our hook all the way through. putting that on our tapestry needle. We're going to fold our beak in half, and we're going to sew it along the edges so that our beak is nice and pointy. And it doesn't really matter how you sew it here. It's such a small piece, you won't really notice anything, but we just want it to be folded in half so it's nice and pointy. And then I want my tails to be on the same side, so when I sew it, just like that. We could pick whatever top part is prettier. I think this part's a little prettier. We're gonna hold it in the middle and sew. As I say in all of my videos, there are 100 different ways to sew on crochet pieces. My favorite method is what I call whatever works and keeps your pieces on. For something this small, I don't really have a method besides pulling nice and tight so that you can't see the yellow on the blue. I'm also making sure it's centered, which I did not do great at, but that's okay. I can kind of fix it by adding an extra stitch. He looks like a platypus right now, don't worry. And then I'm gonna hide the tails poking out through the back. This is the tail from the magic ring. I'm gonna sew one little stitch here, just so it's a little bit more secure, and then poke out through the back. And then trim. If your yellow still shows up behind it, that's okay. You can push it through with your scissors or kind of pinch and rub so that your tail goes inside. To almost be done with the head, we're gonna take a small piece of gray. Well, actually it's not that small, we're gonna trim it later. Cut a piece of gray. Mine's about 1 foot long. I'm gonna put it on my needle. And then I'm going to poke it on top of his head in the original magic ring. I'm going to tie a knot, putting that knot as close to the base of the body as I can get it. I'm going to do my first trim, not my last one. And I'm going to separate all these strands. I like using my tapestry needle. Usually I put it on my lap with like a blanket or my pants behind me, and I kind of like go dramatically because it's on my hands on a table. I'm individually doing it, but you just want to separate the strands. I'm then going to push the knot into his head, and then trim. And now he has like a little hair tuft. He's so cute. To embroider the feet, I'm going to cut a nice long piece of yellow. And if you're thinking, Kendall, what about the wings and the tail? Don't worry, I'm just doing that after. Have not forgotten. I'm going to put that yellow on our tapestry needle. Starting from the bottom, gonna poke. And then I've been lining up my eyes with my feet with the eyes. So for the pigeon, I like doing it between the eye and the beak. So I'm gonna move it over a little bit. Pulling it through, but not too much so that it comes out the bottom. And then I like to think of my embroidery as drawing. So I'm going to draw where I want his feet. I did 5 birds for this collection, and I tried to do the feet all a little differently. For the pigeon, I liked them being a little smaller and being double lined, so I'm going over it twice. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Just like that. I also like to make sure when it's flat that I'm starting the foot from the bottom. So the same thing. I'm going to draw over to the side. So he has this little toe beans. Do pigeons have toe beans? I don't know. My cats have toe beans. One. Last one. Poke out the bottom. Yay. You can kind of adjust it, move it around just a little bit. He looks so silly without his wings. He's just like, whoop. So silly. I'm gonna trim the bottom. And then I'm gonna poke these tails into our body. I know it looks a little sad as I poke it through his butt, but that's okay. Just like that. And now he has little feet and a little hair and a little beak, and he's so cute. But he needs wings. The wings and the tail are all done the exact same way. If you've done my other birds, you know the sizes are a little different between the wings and the tail, and not for this guy. He's exactly the same. And we're gonna start the exact same way that we started the body. We are going to do that magic ring, that chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. Chain 1, 6 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull it tight. We're going to do 6 increases, again, just like the body. Remember that increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm gonna put my stitch marker back in. Our next round is 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Again, exactly like the body. So 1, and then an increase. 1, then an increase. 1, increase. 1, increase. 1, increase, and then 1 more. 1 single crochet, take out the marker, increase, and that's the end of that round. Next round's where it's going to get a little different, but not in the beginning. We're going to be doing 2 single crochets and then an increase, but we're only going to do it 3 times, minus 1 stitch. So let me show you. We're going to do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, increase. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase. 1 more. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase, but we're going to change colors in that second stitch of the increase. So I did my first one. For the second, I'm inserting into the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, and we're going to add our blue yarn, wrap it on, pull through. I'm going to tighten my gray in the back, make sure I'm crocheting with the yarn attached to the skein and not the tail, and continue the sequence of 2 single crochet and then an increase. 2 single crochet, increase, 2 single crochet, take out the marker, increase. We're then going to do 1 slip stitch to make our wings a little rounder. To do that, you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. Then I'm going to cut my blue, cut my gray, fasten off, we have our wing. Now, to hide the tails on our wing, it's a little bit more difficult than the body. The body is 3D, so we can poke out anywhere. Here we have to do like traditional, real sewing on the pieces. We have 4 strands. I'm going to leave this gray one from the outside so I can sew it to the body. But I'm going to weave in the tail from the magic ring and the 2 blue ones. So I'm going to put one of the tails on my tapestry needle, flip it over so I'm working in the back, and I'm going to poke through on the blue. I'm going to weave it in and out, so I'm going like between the stitches. And I'm going to do that 3 times. So that was 1. Again, I'm going to go between the stitches. 2. And then we're going to go back the other direction for this one. Like that. And then we can trim. Now for it to come undone, it has to go through this direction, and that direction. And then through our fasten off knot and so forth, which is significantly more difficult than it is if we just cut it right here. I'm going to do that same thing with the tail from the magic ring. This one's a little easier because we have a little bit more gray on the wing. So 1. I like to do it in 3 different directions, so it's harder for it to come undone. Once more in the other direction, if I can get it through. Maybe. Okay, that was strangely tight for no reason. Let's choose to go in a different direction. There we go. I'm pulling, if you notice I'm like pulling the piece, that's because I don't want to pull my tail so tightly. Excuse me. I don't want to pull my tail so tightly that it bends my wing. I want it to be nice and flat. Now I'm going to do the other blue. And weave it into the blue. And trim. Now we can sew this onto the body. Remember, you're going to need 3 of these, 1 for each wing and then a tail, but you're going to sew them on the same way. I'm going to hold my wing where I want it, and then I like to do a whip stitch, which is when you go over and over and over. So I'm going to go from wing to body. My tail's a little short, but that's okay. Pull tight. Wing to body. Pull tight. Wing to body. Wing to body. If your tail is not big enough, you can always cut off a new piece of yarn and use that. Because this is just my sample, I won't be doing that, but if I was gifting this to someone to make sure that the tails really do not move, and I don't want my wing coming off, I would add an extra piece of gray. I usually remember to make my tails nice and long before I cut them, but I kind of forgot for this one, and that's okay. I am just sewing where the gray is, and I'm going to weave in that tail. This one's easy because it's back on the body. If you just sew on the gray, then the blue kind of moves around and kind of gives some more movement for the piece. Here's our finished piece. He is absolutely adorable. Don't forget to do the other wing and the tail, and that's how you crochet a pigeon. Thank you so much for joining me today as I made Oscar the pigeon. I hope you had a blast. If you want to stay up to date on everything Lousy Llama, you should follow us on TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. That's where I post new kits and patterns and projects and sales and everything that's happening. If you like this video, if you could please give it a like and subscribe, that really helps me grow the channel and continue to make more tutorials for everyone. Again, my name is Kendall. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!